I came to Thailand with a terminal diagnosis and 6 months to live. I had it all planned out: a quiet beach, some books, and enough pills to make the end painless when the time came. What I didn't plan for was meeting someone who saw a future where I only saw an ending. Sometimes the cruelest thing isn't dying alone, it's finding a reason to want to live when you know you can't. If our stories resonate with you, don't forget to like, comment, and tell us where you're watching from. This story was shared with us by one of our longtime viewers. He asked us to keep his location private, but he wanted his experience heard. I arrive at Bangkok airport with nothing but a small suitcase and a medical file I never want to open again. The oncologist's words still echo in my head like some broken record I can't turn off. 6 months, maybe less, Mr. Halifax. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't cure pancreatic cancer, but I guess it's something. The immigration line moves slowly, and I'm okay with that. I've got nowhere urgent to be. Actually, that's not true. I've got somewhere very specific to be, but death isn't exactly on a schedule. I've researched this carefully. Hua Hin seems perfect: quiet beaches, cheap living, far enough from the tourist chaos to die in peace. I've even brought my own exit strategy, tucked away in my toiletry bag. Enough morphine to make the final goodbye painless when the cancer decides it's time. The woman at the immigration counter has kind eyes and a name tag that reads Kanya. She looks maybe 30, with that natural beauty that doesn't need makeup or effort. Purpose of visit? She asks, and I almost laugh. How do you explain that you've come to a country to die? Tourism, I say instead. How long will you stay? Now that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The doctors gave me 6 months, but cancer doesn't read calendars. Indefinite, I tell her, and something in my voice makes her look up from my passport. For just a moment, our eyes meet, and I see something there: curiosity, maybe concern. She stamps my passport with a smile that reaches her eyes. Welcome to Thailand, she says, and her voice has this musical quality that makes even those simple words sound like poetry. Something in my chest tightens, and for a second I think it might be the cancer. But it's not. It's something I haven't felt in so long. I'd almost forgotten what it was. Hope, maybe. Or just human connection. Either way, it's dangerous. I take a taxi to Hua Hin and find exactly what I was looking for. A small apartment 2 blocks from the beach. Cheap rent. No questions asked. The landlord speaks broken English but understands cash perfectly. The place is basic but clean, with a balcony that faces the ocean. I can hear the waves at night, which should be peaceful. Should be. Instead, I lie awake thinking about those kind eyes at the immigration counter. I tell myself it's just the jet lag, the stress of traveling while sick, the surreal nature of planning your own ending. But I know I'm lying. There was something about her smile that made me remember what it felt like to be seen as a person, instead of a diagnosis. My ex-wife Sarah used to look at me differently near the end of our marriage. Not with disgust or pity, exactly, but with this careful distance. Like I was already disappearing. When the cancer diagnosis came, she tried to be supportive for about 3 weeks. Then came the conversation about not wanting to watch me suffer, and needing to think about her own future. I don't blame her. Not really. Who signs up to be a widow at 45? But the way she packed her things while I was at chemo, that still stings. The apartment in Hua Hin doesn't judge me or tiptoe around my mortality. It just exists. Simple and honest. I stock the tiny refrigerator with basics, set up my laptop on the small table, arrange my medications in the bathroom cabinet. The morphine goes in the back, behind the everyday pills. Not yet, but soon enough. I've got books to read, movies to watch, thoughts to think. This is what peaceful dying looks like, I tell myself. Quiet and dignified and utterly alone. But something strange happens over the next few days. I develop a routine, and part of that routine involves stopping at the 7-Eleven near the train station. It's convenient, I tell myself. Good selection, decent coffee, easy walk from my apartment. The fact that I've seen Kanya there twice after her airport shifts is pure coincidence. The first time, she was buying instant noodles and looked exhausted. The second time, she was getting ice cream and seemed happier. I didn't approach her either time. What would I say? Hi. Remember me? I'm the dying tourist you processed through immigration. But I watched her both times, noticed how she smiled at the cashier, how she counted her change carefully, how she looked at her phone with the expression of someone checking messages from people who cared about her. It's voyeuristic and probably pathetic, but it's also the most human I've felt in months. On the third visit, she notices me. "You again," she says, and her laugh is even more musical than her speaking voice. "Are you following me, or do you just really love instant noodles?" She's teasing, but there's genuine curiosity in her eyes. I hold up my basket coffee, bottled water, some crackers. "Just convenient," I say, which is technically true even if it's not the whole truth. "You live near here?" she asks, and when I nod, she smiles. "Me too. Sort of. Well, I work near here. At the airport. You probably don't remember, but I processed your visa a few days ago. I remember everything about that interaction, but I just say, oh right. Small world. We're standing in the snack aisle of a convenience store making small talk, and it's the most normal conversation I've had since my diagnosis. No careful sympathy, no awkward silences, no elephant in the room. She doesn't know I'm dying, so she treats me like I'm living. It's intoxicating. "Do you like coffee?" she asks suddenly. "Real coffee, I mean. Not this instant stuff." I tell her I do, and she brightens. "There's a place near my work. Local place, very good. If you want, maybe tomorrow afternoon, after my shift." She's asking me on a coffee date. A woman 18 years younger than me. Beautiful. Full of life. And she's asking me for coffee. The smart thing would be to say no. The kind thing would be to make some excuse. The honest thing would be to explain why this is a terrible idea. Instead, I say, "I'd like that." She gives me her phone number and tells me to text her tomorrow. As I walk home with my unnecessarily large bag of groceries, I realize I'm smiling for the first time in weeks. This is dangerous territory. I came here to die peacefully, not to complicate some innocent woman's life with my tragic circumstances. But the thought of sitting across from those kind eyes, hearing that musical voice, being treated like a regular person for an hour or two, it's worth the risk. At least, that's what I tell myself, as I program her number into my phone and spend way too much time crafting a simple text. "Looking forward to coffee tomorrow. Halifax." She responds within minutes. "See you at 3. Tell her. That emoji makes me feel something I haven't felt in so long. I'd forgotten its name. Anticipation. The future tense. The possibility that tomorrow might be better than today. It's the most dangerous feeling a dying man can have. The coffee shop is exactly what she promised, local, small, the kind of place I would never have found on my own. It's tucked between a motorcycle repair shop and a tiny restaurant with plastic chairs and mismatched tables. Kanya is already there when I arrive, changed out of her airport uniform into a simple sundress that makes her look even younger. She waves me over with the enthusiasm of someone who genuinely wanted to see me again. "You found it," she says, like this is some kind of achievement. The coffee is excellent, strong and bitter in the way that makes you pay attention. Kanya orders in Thai. Rapid-fire conversation with the owner that makes them both laugh. When she turns back to me, she's glowing with the pleasure of being in her element. "He says you're the first foreigner to come here in months," she translates. "He's curious why you didn't go to one of the tourist places." I tell him through her that the tourist places don't have the best guide in Thailand, which makes her blush and laugh at the same time. The conversation flows easier than it should. She tells me about growing up in Lopburi, about her family's small farm. about working at the airport to save money for her dream of opening a guest house. Her English is better than she initially let on, touched with that musical accent that makes even mundane words sound lovely. She's been studying on her own, she says, watching American movies and practicing with tourists who seem patient enough to help. What about you? She asks. What brings you to Hua Hin, besides the instant noodles? I give her the edited version, taught high school English for 20 years, got divorced, needed a change of scenery. It's not technically a lie, just incomplete. She nods like she understands the need for fresh starts. My mother says I should marry a nice Thai man and stop dreaming about businesses, she says with a slight roll of her eyes. But I think dreams are important. You can't just settle for what everyone expects. The irony is painful. Here's someone talking about dreams and futures while sharing coffee with a man whose future is measured in months. But I find myself getting caught up in her enthusiasm, asking about her guesthouse plans, her favorite places in the area, her family. She talks about her mother's worry that she'll end up an old maid, her father's pride in her airport job, her younger brother who wants to be a mechanic. Normal family dynamics. Normal concerns. Normal hopes. Do you have family back home? She asks, and the question catches me off guard. Ex-wife. I say carefully. No kids, parents are gone, it's just me. The words hang in the air heavier than I intended. She reaches across the table and briefly touches my hand. I'm sorry, she says, and her sympathy is genuine but not pitying. That must be lonely. It is lonely, but sitting here with her, it feels less so. We talk for 2 hours without running out of things to say. She tells me about the temples I should visit, the beaches that are better for swimming than photos, the markets where vendors won't overcharge obvious tourists. I tell her about books that might help with her English, about the small towns in America that reminded me of what she's described about Lopburi, about teaching teenagers who thought they knew everything. When we finally leave the coffee shop, the sun is setting, and she insists on walking me partway home. This was nice, she says as we reach the corner where our paths diverge. Maybe we can do it again sometime. I should say no. I should make some excuse about being busy or not knowing how long I'll be in town. Instead, I say, I'd like that very much. She smiles and briefly squeezes my arm before heading toward her motorcycle. I watch her drive away, wondering what the hell I'm doing. I came to Thailand to die alone and peaceful, not to develop feelings for someone who believes in futures I won't see. But as I walk the rest of the way home, I'm already looking forward to seeing her again. The most dangerous thing about hope is how good it feels, even when you know it's built on a lie. Our second coffee date happens 3 days later, then another one the following week. Without planning it or discussing it, we develop a routine. She texts me when her shifts end early. I find excuses to be near the 7-Eleven when she might stop by, and we meet for coffee or walks along the beach. She shows me temples I would have walked past, teaches me basic Thai phrases that I butcher with embarrassing enthusiasm, laughs when I try to eat som tam without my eyes watering. You have weak Western tongue, she teases, but she orders me a milder version and seems genuinely pleased when I finish it. I find myself looking forward to these meetings in a way that makes me forget, temporarily, why I came here. The pain in my abdomen is still there. A constant, low-level reminder of what's happening inside me. But it seems manageable when I'm with her. Maybe the doctors were wrong. I catch myself thinking. Maybe stress was making everything worse. And now that I'm happy, genuinely happy for the first time in months, maybe I'm actually getting better. It's a dangerous thought, but I can't help having it. Kanya has this way of making me feel like myself again, not the cancer patient, not the abandoned husband, not the man planning his own ending. Just Halifax, retired English teacher, guy who makes her laugh with his terrible pronunciation and cultural confusion. She's teaching me to navigate the local markets, introducing me to vendors who now wave when they see me coming. This is my American friend, she tells them in Thai, and I like being someone's friend instead of someone's burden. The word friend should sting. It should remind me that this is temporary, that I'm deceiving her, that I'm going to disappear from her life without warning. But it doesn't sting. It feels like possibility. We're walking along the beach one evening when she stops suddenly and points to a small restaurant built on stilts over the water. "See that place?" she says. "Someday I want to open something like that. But for tourists who want to stay, not just eat. A guest house with a restaurant, maybe some rooms right over the water." Her eyes are bright with the vision, and she describes it in detail, how she'd arrange the rooms, what kind of food she'd serve, how she'd make it special enough that people would recommend it to their friends. I find myself getting caught up in her enthusiasm, asking practical questions about permits and costs and logistics. She's clearly thought this through, not just dreaming but planning. "I have some money saved," she says. "Not enough yet, but getting close. Maybe in 2 years, if I keep working extra shifts." 2 years. The timeline hits me like a physical blow. In 2 years, I'll have been dead for at least 18 months. She'll be pursuing this dream while I'm nothing but a memory. If that. The thought should make me pull back, create some distance, stop encouraging her plans. Instead, I hear myself saying, "That sounds amazing. You'd be great at it." Because she would be. She has the warmth and attention to detail that would make guests feel genuinely welcome. She has the business sense to make it profitable and the heart to make it special. She deserves to see this dream come true, and I won't be there to see it happen. The realization settles in my chest like a weight, but I don't let it show. Instead, I ask more questions, encourage more details, and pretend like I might be around to see the grand opening. It's selfish and probably cruel, but the alternative is admitting why I won't be there, and I'm not ready for that conversation. Not yet. The lie gets easier and bigger with each passing day. When Kanya mentions planning to take me to meet her family next month, I don't correct her assumption that I'll still be here. When she suggests we visit some temples up north, when the weather gets cooler, I nod, like it's a reasonable plan. When she starts teaching me Thai phrases I'll need to know if I stay long-term, I practice them dutifully. The morphine sits untouched in my bathroom cabinet, and some days I almost forget it's there. This is what denial feels like. I realize not refusing to acknowledge reality, but living so fully in a false reality that the true one starts to seem impossible. I wake up each morning expecting to feel worse, to see blood, to experience the progression the doctors warned me about. Instead, I feel not good exactly, but stable, functional, almost normal. Maybe it's the climate, maybe it's the reduced stress, maybe it's having something to look forward to every day. Or maybe I'm just having a good period before things get worse. Cancer doesn't follow rules or schedules. It advances when it wants to, retreats when it chooses to, and gives false hope as easily as it gives despair. But knowing that doesn't stop me from hoping. One morning, I wake up feeling genuinely good for the first time in months. The pain is barely noticeable, my appetite is back, and I have energy that feels almost normal. I text Kanya with an enthusiasm that surprises me. "Beautiful morning. Want to do something spontaneous?" She responds immediately. "Always. What did you have in mind?" We spend the day exploring a market I've never seen before, trying street food that would have terrified me weeks ago, laughing at my attempts to bargain in broken Thai. She buys me a shirt that she says makes my eyes look nice, and I buy her a small silver bracelet from a vendor who insists we're a very sweet couple. Neither of us corrects him. That evening, we sit on the beach watching the sunset, and I think this might be what happiness feels like. Not the desperate, grasping kind of happiness that comes from trying to outrun sadness, but the quiet, steady kind that comes from being exactly where you want to be with exactly who you want to be with. It's terrifying how easy it would be to believe this could last. But reality has a way of reasserting itself. I wake up one morning and immediately know something has changed. The pain is back, sharper and deeper than before, and there's blood in my urine that's darker than it should be. I sit on the edge of the bed for a long time, trying to convince myself it's just a bad day, that it will pass like the others have passed. But I know better. The cancer has been patient. letting me have my fantasy. But it's still there. Still growing. Still winning. I cancel my plans with Kanya, claiming I need to handle some paperwork and spend the day researching oncologists in Bangkok. Maybe there are treatment options here that weren't available at home. Maybe the diagnosis was wrong or incomplete. Maybe there's still time to make this real instead of temporary. The hope is dangerous, but I can't help clinging to it. When Kanya calls that evening to check on me, her voice full of concern that I sounded strange in my text, I almost tell her everything. Instead, I make excuses about being tired and promise we'll see each other soon. "You're important to me," she says before hanging up, and those 5 words break my heart in ways I didn't know were possible. I'm important to someone again. Someone cares whether I'm okay, worries when I seem distant, looks forward to spending time with me. It's everything I thought I'd lost, and I found it at exactly the wrong time. That night, I lie awake staring at the ceiling and trying to figure out how this ends. If I tell her the truth now, she'll feel betrayed by the deception but might understand why I did it. If I wait until I'm obviously sick, she'll feel responsible for taking care of me, which isn't fair to her. If I just disappear, she'll worry and wonder and never get closure. Every option seems cruel, but continuing the lie seems cruelest of all, even though it's the only one that lets us keep pretending we have a future together. I decide to go to Bangkok, officially for visa paperwork, but really to get a second opinion from a Thai oncologist. Maybe the medical system here will offer different options. Maybe the doctors at home were being overly conservative. Maybe there's still time to turn this fantasy into reality. The train to Bangkok gives me 3 hours to rehearse what I'll say to the doctor, to prepare for either hope or confirmation of hopelessness. The oncology clinic is modern and efficient, and the doctor speaks excellent English with the kind of gentle authority that makes you trust him immediately. I show him my medical records, explain my symptoms, submit to blood tests and scans. He's thorough and kind, but the news is worse than what I heard at home. The cancer has spread faster than the American doctors predicted. 3 months, he says. Maybe less. He's sorry. Everyone's always sorry, but sorry doesn't change the diagnosis. "Are you here alone?" he asks, noticing something in my expression. I tell him I have a friend, and he nods. "It's good not to be alone," he says, "but she should know. People deserve the chance to choose how they want to spend time with someone they care about." He's right, of course. But knowing what's right and doing it are different things. I walk through Bangkok in a daze, watching life happen around me with a clarity that's both beautiful and painful. Street vendors calling out to customers, tourists taking selfies in front of temples, young couples holding hands and planning their evenings. Everyone's so busy living that they don't stop to think about dying. I used to be like that, focused on the future, making plans, assuming tomorrow would come. Now I see it all from the outside, like watching a movie about life, instead of living it. When Kanya calls that evening, excited about some small victory at work, I almost break down completely. Her voice is so full of life and possibility, and I'm sitting in a hotel room with a death sentence that's gotten shorter instead of longer. "I missed you today," she says. It's strange how quickly you can get used to having someone to talk to. I know exactly what she means, but hearing her say it makes everything worse. "I'll be back tomorrow," I tell her. Which is true. What I don't say is that I'll be back with the knowledge that our time together is even more limited than I thought. "I have something exciting to tell you when you get back," she says. "I found the perfect spot for the guest house. I want you to see it." Perfect spot. Future plans. Dreams that assume I'll be around to see them realized. I should tell her right now, over the phone, before she gets any more invested in plans that include me. Instead, I say I can't wait to hear about it and promise to call her when I get home. After we hang up, I sit in my hotel room and stare out at the Bangkok skyline, trying to figure out how to be honest with someone I care about when honesty will destroy the best thing that's happened to either of us in a long time. The most selfish part of me wants to keep pretending until I physically can't anymore. The most caring part of me knows she deserves the truth, so she can decide how to spend whatever time we have left. The most realistic part of me knows that either choice will hurt her, and that knowledge makes me feel like the worst kind of person, someone who enters another person's life just in time to break their heart. But I also know that these months with her have been the happiest I've had in years, maybe decades. If I have to die, at least I got to remember what it felt like to be loved first. Even if that love was built on a lie I told to protect us both from an unbearable truth. Against every bit of common sense I have left, I let Kanya take me to Lopburi to meet her family. She's been talking about this visit for weeks, describing her parents and their farm, warning me that her mother will probably be suspicious of the older foreign man, but that her father will want to practice his English and hear stories about America. I should make excuses, postpone indefinitely, avoid getting more deeply involved in her life when I know how this ends. Instead, I buy thoughtful gifts and practice polite Thai phrases and pretend this is a normal relationship reaching a natural milestone. The bus ride takes 2 hours, and Kanya spends most of it telling me family stories and preparing me for personalities. Her father grows vegetables for the local market and repairs motorcycles on the side. Her mother runs the household with an efficiency that would impress military commanders. Her younger brother is obsessed with American cars and will probably interrogate me about every detail of life in the States. She paints a picture of a close, loving family that worries about her living alone and working with strangers at the airport. My mother thinks all foreign men who come to Thailand are looking for young wives they can control, she explains, not quite meeting my eyes. I told her you're different, but she'll need to see for herself. The trust in her voice breaks my heart. She's defended me to her family, vouched for my character, assured them that I'm one of the good ones. And, technically, I suppose I am. I'm not trying to control or exploit or deceive her for selfish gain. I'm just trying to feel human for a few more months before I stop being human permanently. But the effect is the same. She's emotionally invested in someone who's going to disappear from her life, and she doesn't know it's coming. Her family's house is small but immaculate, set on a few acres of vegetable gardens that show the kind of care that comes from generations of farming knowledge. Her father greets me with curiosity rather than suspicion, eager to practice English and hear about American schools and students. Her mother is polite but watchful, the kind of protective parent who's seen enough of the world to be cautious about her daughter's choices. Her brother is exactly as advertised, 17, motorcycle obsessed, and full of questions about cars and cities and what life is really like for regular Americans. They feed me until I physically cannot eat another bite, insisting I try everything her mother has prepared and apologizing that it's just simple food, nothing special. The food is incredible, but what strikes me more is the warmth. They include me in conversations, translate jokes so I can laugh along, show me old photo albums, and explain family stories. For a few hours, I'm not the dying foreigner deceiving their daughter, I'm just Halifax, guest in their home, someone Kanya cares about enough to bring here. Her father asks about my teaching career and nods approvingly when I describe trying to help teenagers find their own voices through writing. Her mother softens when she sees how carefully I help clear dishes and how I compliment her cooking in my terrible Thai. Her brother decides I'm acceptable when I admit that American cars are probably not as well built as he thinks they are. But it's the way Kanya looks at me during these interactions that destroys me. She's watching with this quiet pride, this happiness that her family is accepting me, this hope that maybe this is the beginning of something lasting. She reaches for my hand during dinner and squeezes it when her father tells an embarrassing story about her childhood. She translates quickly and quietly when conversations move too fast for me to follow. She's taking care of me and showing me off at the same time, like I'm something precious she wants to share. I see her mother notice these gestures, see the calculation behind the older woman's eyes as she evaluates whether this foreign man is good for her daughter or just another disappointment waiting to happen. If only she knew how right her suspicions are, though not in the way she thinks. We spend the night in Kanya's childhood bedroom, which she's turned into a guest room since moving out. She shows me her old textbooks, her collection of English novels with careful notes in the margins, photos from her university graduation. I was scared to move to Hua Hin, she admits as we get ready for bed. But my parents said if I was going to work with foreigners anyway, I should at least make good money doing it. She's sharing pieces of her history, letting me see the choices that led her to the immigration counter where we met. Every detail makes me more real to her and makes this deception more inexcusable. That night, lying on a thin mattress in a room that still smells faintly of the incense her mother burns every morning, I stare at the ceiling and try to memorize what it feels like to be part of a family again, even temporarily. At breakfast, her mother pulls me aside while Kanya is helping her father with something in the garden. She speaks to me in careful English, clearly something she's been rehearsing. "My daughter is good girl," she says. "Work hard, send money home, take care of family. She deserve good man who stay, not man who leave when things get difficult." I promise her that I care about Kanya very much, which is true. I don't promise to stay, which would be impossible. She studies my face for a long moment, then nods. "Okay, we see." As we prepare to leave, her father shakes my hand and tells me I'm welcome anytime. Her brother makes me promise to send him information about American motorcycles. Her mother hugs me briefly and whispers something in Thai that Kanya translates later. She said you have kind eyes but sad heart, and she hopes Thailand makes you happy. On the bus back to Hua Hin, Kanya is glowing with happiness. "They liked you," she says. "I could tell. My mother is never wrong about people, and she liked you." I want to ask what her mother really said, what warnings she might have given, what concerns she might still have, but I also don't want to dim Kanya's joy. So I just squeeze her hand and tell her how much I enjoyed meeting them. It's true I loved seeing where she came from, understanding the foundation that made her so strong and optimistic and generous. I just hate knowing that I'm going to become one more thing her mother was right to worry about. Back in Hua Hin, something has shifted between us. Meeting her family has made everything more real, more serious, more like an actual relationship instead of a vacation romance. Kanya starts talking about the future more concretely, making plans that extend months and years ahead. She's found a property she's excited about, saved enough for a down payment, started researching permits and licenses. She wants me to see it, to give my opinion as someone who knows about business and dealing with foreigners. I don't know anything about business, but I know about love, and I know I'm falling deeper into it every day. The cruel irony isn't lost on me. I came to Thailand to die alone, and instead I'm falling in love with someone who thinks we have decades ahead of us. The pain in my abdomen is getting worse again, despite my hopes that it was improving. I'm getting better at hiding it, taking painkillers before we spend time together, making excuses when I need to rest. But I can see her starting to notice things, how carefully I move sometimes, how I've lost weight, how I occasionally zone out in the middle of conversations when the pain spikes. "Are you okay?" she asks more frequently. "You seem tired. Are you sleeping enough? Eating enough? Maybe you need vitamins." Her concern is genuine and caring, which makes it harder to deflect. I tell her it's just adjustment to the climate, stress from paperwork, the normal challenges of living in a foreign country. She accepts these explanations because she wants to, because the alternative is too complicated to contemplate. But I can see the worry in her eyes sometimes, the way she watches me when she thinks I'm not looking. She's starting to take care of me in small ways, bringing me soup when I claim to have a stomachache, suggesting we take taxis instead of walking when I seem tired, steering conversations away from topics that seem to make me sad. She doesn't know she's caring for a dying man, but she's caring for me anyway, instinctively responding to needs I'm trying to hide. It makes me love her more and hate myself more in equal measure. The property is perfect, which makes everything worse. It's a small plot of land about 10 minutes from the beach, with an old house that could be renovated into a main building and space for several small bungalows. The owner is an elderly Thai man who wants to sell because he's too old to maintain it properly. The price is reasonable, the location is ideal, and the potential is obvious. Kanya walks through it like she's walking through her future, pointing out where she'd put the reception area, how she'd arrange the guest rooms, what kind of garden she'd plant to make the entrance welcoming. "The restaurant would go here," she says, indicating a covered area that overlooks the garden. "Nothing fancy, just good Thai food, and maybe some Western dishes for guests who get homesick. And over there, maybe some hammocks where people can read or just relax. She's thought of everything, the practical details like plumbing and electricity, the business considerations like target markets and pricing, the personal touches that would make guests feel genuinely welcomed rather than just housed. This isn't just a dream anymore. It's a detailed plan with timelines and budgets and realistic expectations. She's been working extra shifts at the airport for 2 years to save the deposit. She's researched the legal requirements for foreigners who want to invest in Thai businesses. She's even picked out the name Ban Suk, which she tells me means House of Happiness in Thai. "What do you think?" she asks. And I realize she's not just asking my opinion about the property. She's asking me to be part of it. The down payment represents most of her savings, money she's earned through countless double shifts and careful budgeting. She's trusting me with her biggest dream, seeking my approval for the most important decision of her young life. I could help her, I realize. I have money sitting unused in my account back home, inheritance from my parents, savings from 20 years of teaching, the modest life insurance payout I won't be around to use. I could make her dream happen immediately, give her the financial security to pursue this plan without risking everything she's worked for. But what happens to her investment when I'm gone? What happens when she's committed to a business and suddenly loses her partner and her security at the same time? I make the worst decision of my life, or maybe the best one. I'm not sure there's a difference anymore. I help her buy the property. I tell myself it's a gift, not an investment in our future. But I'm lying to both of us. I transfer enough money to cover not just the down payment, but the full purchase price, plus renovation costs. When she sees the bank transfer confirmation, she cries. Not tears of happiness, but overwhelming tears of someone who's been carrying a burden alone and suddenly has help. "I don't understand," she says. "This is too much money. Why would you do this?" I tell her it's because I believe in her dream, because I know she'll make it successful, because she deserves to have something that's entirely hers. All of that is true. But it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is that I'm dying and I want to leave something good behind, something that will make her life better even after I'm gone. The whole truth is that I'm buying time with her, paying for the privilege of pretending we have a future. The whole truth is that I love her. And this is the only way I know how to show it without having to explain why our time is limited. We spend the rest of the day making lists and drawing plans and discussing timelines. Kanya has it all figured out: which local contractors to trust, what permits we'll need, how to design the space to be comfortable but efficient. She talks about our guests like they're already friends we haven't met yet, describes the kind of atmosphere she wants to create, plans the details that will make people want to return. "We should start with 3 small bungalows," she says. "Get established, build a reputation, then add more later. What do you think?" Every time she says we, it feels like a small knife turning in my chest. But I nod and agree, and ask intelligent questions about electrical systems and water pressure, because this is her dream, and she deserves to have someone take it seriously. That evening, we sit on the beach near our property. I'm already thinking of it as ours, which is dangerous, and she leans against my shoulder. "I can't believe this is real," she says quietly. 6 months ago, I thought it would take me 5 more years to save enough money. Now we can start building next month. Next month? The timeline hits me with familiar dread. In next month, will I still be able to hide how sick I'm getting? Will I still be able to pretend I'm planning a future instead of counting down to an ending? "Thank you," she says, turning to look at me. "I know I can never repay you for this, but I want you to know it means everything to me. Not just the money, having someone believe in me this much." She kisses me then, soft and sweet and full of gratitude and affection. It's the first time we've kissed, and it tastes like possibility and heartbreak in equal measure. I kiss her back because I love her, because I'm selfish, because I want to remember what hope feels like even when it's built on lies. When we break apart, she's smiling with a joy so pure it makes me want to confess everything just to stop deserving it. Instead, I smile back and tell her that believing in her is the easiest thing I've ever done. I was scared to move to Hua Hin. She admits as we get ready for bed. But my parents said if I was going to work with foreigners anyway, I should at least make good money doing it. She's sharing pieces of her history, letting me see the choices that led her to the immigration counter where we met. Every detail makes me more real to her and makes this deception more inexcusable. That night, lying on a thin mattress in a room that still smells faintly of the incense her mother burns every morning, I stare at the ceiling and try to memorize what it feels like to be part of a family again, even temporarily. At breakfast, her mother pulls me aside while Kanya is helping her father with something in the garden. She speaks to me in careful English, clearly something she's been rehearsing. "My daughter is good girl," she says. "Work hard, send money home, take care of family. She deserve good man who stay, not man who leave when things get difficult." I promise her that I care about Kanya very much, which is true. I don't promise to stay, which would be impossible. She studies my face for a long moment, then nods. "Okay, we see." As we prepare to leave, her father shakes my hand and tells me I'm welcome anytime. Her brother makes me promise to send him information about American motorcycles. Her mother hugs me briefly and whispers something in Thai that Kanya translates later. She said you have kind eyes but sad heart, and she hopes Thailand makes you happy. On the bus back to Hua Hin, Kanya is glowing with happiness. "They liked you," she says. "I could tell. My mother is never wrong about people, and she liked you." I want to ask what her mother really said, what warnings she might have given, what concerns she might still have. But I also don't want to dim Kanya's joy. So I just squeeze her hand and tell her how much I enjoyed meeting them. It's true I loved seeing where she came from, understanding the foundation that made her so strong and optimistic and generous. I just hate knowing that I'm going to become one more thing her mother was right to worry about. Back in Hua Hin, something has shifted between us. Meeting her family has made everything more real, more serious, more like an actual relationship instead of a vacation romance. Kanya starts talking about the future more concretely, making plans that extend months and years ahead. She's found a property she's excited about, saved enough for a down payment, started researching permits and licenses. She wants me to see it, to give my opinion as someone who knows about business and dealing with foreigners. I don't know anything about business, but I know about love, and I know I'm falling deeper into it every day. The cruel irony isn't lost on me. I came to Thailand to die alone, and instead I'm falling in love with someone who thinks we have decades ahead of us. The pain in my abdomen is getting worse again, despite my hopes that it was improving. I'm getting better at hiding it, taking painkillers before we spend time together, making excuses when I need to rest. But I can see her starting to notice things, how carefully I move sometimes, how I've lost weight, how I occasionally zone out in the middle of conversations when the pain spikes. "Are you okay?" she asks more frequently. "You seem tired. Are you sleeping enough? Eating enough? Maybe you need vitamins." Her concern is genuine and caring, which makes it harder to deflect. I tell her it's just adjustment to the climate, stress from paperwork, the normal challenges of living in a foreign country. She accepts these explanations because she wants to, because the alternative is too complicated to contemplate. But I can see the worry in her eyes sometimes, the way she watches me when she thinks I'm not looking. She's starting to take care of me in small ways, bringing me soup when I claim to have a stomachache, suggesting we take taxis instead of walking when I seem tired, steering conversations away from topics that seem to make me sad. She doesn't know she's caring for a dying man, but she's caring for me anyway, instinctively responding to needs I'm trying to hide. It makes me love her more and hate myself more in equal measure. The property is perfect, which makes everything worse. It's a small plot of land about 10 minutes from the beach, with an old house that could be renovated into a main building and space for several small bungalows. The owner is an elderly Thai man who wants to sell because he's too old to maintain it properly. The price is reasonable, the location is ideal, and the potential is obvious. Kanya walks through it like she's walking through her future, pointing out where she'd put the reception area, how she'd arrange the guest rooms, what kind of garden she'd plant to make the entrance welcoming. "The restaurant would go here," she says, indicating a covered area that overlooks the garden. "Nothing fancy, just good Thai food, and maybe some Western dishes for guests who get homesick. And over there, maybe some hammocks where people can read or just relax. She's thought of everything, the practical details like plumbing and electricity, the business considerations like target markets and pricing, the personal touches that would make guests feel genuinely welcomed rather than just housed. This isn't just a dream anymore. It's a detailed plan with timelines and budgets and realistic expectations. She's been working extra shifts at the airport for 2 years to save the deposit. She's researched the legal requirements for foreigners who want to invest in Thai businesses. She's even picked out the name Ban Suk, which she tells me means House of Happiness in Thai. What do you think? She asks. And I realize she's not just asking my opinion about the property. She's asking me to be part of it. The down payment represents most of her savings, money she's earned through countless double shifts and careful budgeting. She's trusting me with her biggest dream, seeking my approval for the most important decision of her young life. I could help her, I realize. I have money sitting unused in my account back home, inheritance from my parents, savings from 20 years of teaching, the modest life insurance payout I won't be around to use. I could make her dream happen immediately. Give her the financial security to pursue this plan without risking everything she's worked for. But what happens to her investment when I'm gone? What happens when she's committed to a business and suddenly loses her partner and her security at the same time? I make the worst decision of my life, or maybe the best one. I'm not sure there's a difference anymore. I help her buy the property. I tell myself it's a gift, not an investment in our future. But I'm lying to both of us. I transfer enough money to cover not just the down payment, but the full purchase price, plus renovation costs. When she sees the bank transfer confirmation, she cries. Not tears of happiness, but overwhelming tears of someone who's been carrying a burden alone and suddenly has help. I don't understand, she says. This is too much money. Why would you do this? I tell her it's because I believe in her dream, because I know she'll make it successful, because she deserves to have something that's entirely hers. All of that is true. But it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is that I'm dying and I want to leave something good behind, something that will make her life better even after I'm gone. The whole truth is that I'm buying time with her, paying for the privilege of pretending we have a future. The whole truth is that I love her. And this is the only way I know how to show it without having to explain why our time is limited. We spend the rest of the day making lists and drawing plans and discussing timelines. Kanya has it all figured out: which local contractors to trust, what permits we'll need, how to design the space to be comfortable but efficient. She talks about our guests like they're already friends we haven't met yet, describes the kind of atmosphere she wants to create, plans the details that will make people want to return. We should start with 3 small bungalows, she says. Get established, build a reputation, then add more later. What do you think? Every time she says we, it feels like a small knife turning in my chest. But I nod and agree, and ask intelligent questions about electrical systems and water pressure, because this is her dream, and she deserves to have someone take it seriously. That evening, we sit on the beach near our property. I'm already thinking of it as ours, which is dangerous, and she leans against my shoulder. I can't believe this is real, she says quietly. 6 months ago, I thought it would take me 5 more years to save enough money. Now we can start building next month. Next month? The timeline hits me with familiar dread. In next month, will I still be able to hide how sick I'm getting? Will I still be able to pretend I'm planning a future instead of counting down to an ending? Thank you, she says, turning to look at me. I know I can never repay you for this, but I want you to know it means everything to me. Not just the money, having someone believe in me this much. She kisses me then, soft and sweet and full of gratitude and affection. It's the first time we've kissed, and it tastes like possibility and heartbreak in equal measure. I kiss her back because I love her, because I'm selfish, because I want to remember what hope feels like even when it's built on lies. When we break apart, she's smiling with a joy so pure it makes me want to confess everything just to stop deserving it. Instead, I smile back and tell her that believing in her is the easiest thing I've ever done, The beeping of monitors fills the space between us, marking time we don't have. Finally, she speaks. How long have you known? Her voice is quiet but steady, the tone of someone who has moved past initial shock into the need for truth. I tell her about the diagnosis before I left America, about the original prognosis of 6 months, about coming to Thailand with a plan to die peacefully and alone. I tell her about meeting her at the immigration counter and how that changed everything, how I started lying to myself before I started lying to her. I tell her about the second opinion in Bangkok, the confirmation that I was running out of time even faster than expected. I tell her everything except the morphine. The original exit strategy that I abandoned because I fell in love with living again. She listens without interrupting, her face cycling through emotions I can't read. When I finish, she asks the question I've been dreading. Why didn't you tell me? I don't have a good answer. Because I was selfish. Because I was lonely. Because for the first time in years, someone looked at me and saw potential instead of endings. Because I wanted to feel human instead of terminal. Because I loved her. And love makes you do stupid, cruel things in the name of protecting what you can't actually protect. I thought I could handle it alone. I say, finally. I thought I could just disappear when the time came, and you'd think I went back to America or moved to another city. I didn't plan on. I gesture weakly at the space between us, the connection we built, the future we planned. I didn't plan on this. She's quiet again, and I can see her working through the implications. The property we bought together, the dreams we shared, the family introductions, the casual intimacy of planning a life with someone, all of it built on a lie, even if the emotions were real. My mother warned me, she says eventually. She said foreign men who come to Thailand are usually running from something. I told her you were different. The accusation in her voice is quiet but unmistakable. Maybe you are different. Maybe you're running from something worse than a bad marriage or financial problems, but you're still running, and you still lied to me about why. She's right, and I don't try to argue. I let her work through her anger and hurt, let her say the things she needs to say. She talks about feeling stupid for not seeing the signs, for believing my excuses about being tired or adjusting to the climate. She talks about the embarrassment of introducing a dying man to her family as someone with a future. She talks about the property, the investment, the business plan that now feels like evidence of how thoroughly I deceived her. But the worst part, she says, and her voice breaks slightly, is that you made me believe in something that was never real. Not just the business or the future, you made me believe that someone could love me enough to build a life with me, that I was worth staying for. And all the time, you were planning to leave. The words hit me like physical blows because she's right and wrong at the same time. I did love her enough to want to build a life with her, that's exactly why I lie. I did think she was worth staying for, that's why I fought the cancer as hard as I could, why I hoped against medical evidence, why I abandoned my careful plans for a controlled ending. But I can't explain that without sounding like I'm making excuses for the inexcusable. I'm sorry, I say, because it's the only thing that's completely true and completely inadequate. I'm so sorry, Kanya. You deserved better than this. You deserved honesty. She looks at me for a long time, and I can see her weighing something. Finally, she asks, "Do you love me? Really love me? Or just love the idea of not being alone while you die?" It's the hardest question she could have asked because it forces me to examine motivations I'm not sure I understand myself. Do I love her, or do I love how she made me feel? Do I love who she is, or just love being seen as someone worth loving? The answer comes from someplace deeper than my conscious mind. I love you, not because you made dying easier, but because you made living better. Not because I needed someone to take care of me, but because I wanted to take care of you. Not because I was afraid to die alone, but because I wanted to live with you. It's true, all of it. But it doesn't change what I did or undo the harm I caused. She nods slowly, like she's filing away my answer to consider later. I need time to think, she says. I need to figure out what this means, what happens now. She stands up to leave, then turns back. The property, what happens to that when you're gone? I tell her it's hers completely, that I made sure the legal paperwork reflects that. The money was a gift, not a loan or an investment partnership. Whatever she decides to do with it, she doesn't owe me or my memory anything. I didn't pay for your dreams. I say, I just wanted to help them come true a little sooner. She doesn't say anything to that. But something in her expression softens slightly. After she leaves, I lie in the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling and trying to process what just happened. I told the truth, finally, and it felt both liberating and devastating. She knows everything now, which means she can make informed choices about how to spend whatever time we have left. But it also means I've hurt her in ways that might not heal, broken trust that might not be repairable. The morphine drip they've given me for pain management makes everything softer around the edges, but it can't touch the emotional pain of seeing someone you love realize they've been deceived by someone they trusted. She doesn't come back for 3 days. 3 days of lying in a hospital bed, managing pain, talking to doctors about palliative care options, watching Thai soap operas I don't understand, and wondering if I've lost her completely. The nurses are kind but professional, the doctors are thorough but realistic, and the whole experience has the surreal quality of being processed through a medical system in a language I barely speak while dying far from anything I used to call home. On the 4th day, she appears in my doorway looking exhausted but determined. She's changed out of her airport uniform into casual clothes, and she's carrying a small bag that suggests she's planning to stay for a while. I talked to my mother, she says without preamble. I told her everything. I can't imagine that conversation, can't picture how you explain to your mother that the man you brought home to meet the family is dying and has been lying about it for months. What did she say? I ask. She said she knew something was wrong but thought maybe you were just sad about your divorce. She said she's sorry she was right to worry, but she's glad I found out the truth before it was too late to choose how to spend the time left. Choose how to spend the time left. The phrase hits me with unexpected hope. Not forgiveness, necessarily, but the possibility that this isn't over yet. I've been thinking about what you said, Kanya continues, about loving me, not just loving, not being alone. I think I believe you, but I also think you're an idiot for not telling me sooner. She sits down in the chair next to my bed, the same position she was in when the truth came out. But her energy is different now. Less shocked, more resolved. If you had told me from the beginning, what would you have wanted to happen? It's a hypothetical question, but I consider it seriously. I would have wanted exactly what we had, minus the lying. I would have wanted to fall in love with you and help with your dream and meet your family and build something beautiful for as long as I could. I just would have wanted you to know it was temporary, so you could decide if it was worth it. She nods slowly. Okay, she says. So let's do that now. Let's have the relationship we should have had from the beginning, with honesty this time. I stare at her, not sure I understood correctly. You want to stay with me, even knowing how this ends? I want to love you while I can, she says simply. I want to finish the guest house and take care of you and spend whatever time we have left together. Not because I owe you something or because I feel sorry for you, but because what we had was real, even if it was built on lies. And I don't want to throw away something real just because it's not going to last forever. The relief is so overwhelming I start crying, which is embarrassing but unstoppable. She holds my hand while I ugly cry in a Thai hospital bed, grieving not just my own mortality but the months we lost to deception, the trust I broke, the pain I caused someone who deserved better. When I finally stop crying, she's still there, still holding my hand, still looking at me with something that might be love mixed with sadness. But things have to be different, she says. No more lies, not even little ones to protect me. No more pretending you're healthier than you are. No more making plans you know you can't keep. I want to love the real you, not the version you think I need. I promise her complete honesty, even when it's hard, even when it scares us both. She helps me get discharged from the hospital with enough pain medication to manage at home and strict instructions about when to return if symptoms worsen. The ride back to my apartment is quiet but not uncomfortable, the silence of two people who have said all the hard things and are figuring out how to move forward. "I want to stay with you," she says as we climb the stairs to my door. "Not just visit, stay. If that's okay." It's more than okay. It's everything I wanted and thought I'd lost. That night, we lie in bed together for the first time, not as lovers but as two people who have chosen to be honest about loving each other despite impossible circumstances. She traces patterns on my chest with her finger and asks questions about the cancer, about what to expect, about how to help when things get worse. I answer everything as honestly as I can, grateful finally to share the burden of knowledge that's been weighing on me for months. "Are you scared?" she asks. "Of dying?" "Sometimes. Of dying alone, not anymore. Of hurting you more than I already have. Every day." She considers this. "I'm scared too, but I think being scared together is better than being scared alone." It is better. Everything is better when you don't have to carry it alone, even the worst things, especially the worst things. The next few weeks settle into a routine that feels both normal and surreal. Kanya takes leave from her airport job to spend time with me, and we divide our days between managing my medical care and working on the guest house project. She treats both responsibilities with the same careful attention, scheduling pain medication and doctor visits with the same efficiency she applies to coordinating contractors and suppliers. The physical work at the property is limited for me now, but I can still contribute ideas, make phone calls, handle paperwork. More importantly, I can witness her vision becoming reality. The first bungalow is taking shape beautifully. Exactly as she described it that day, we looked at the empty property together. She's chosen colors that complement the natural setting, designed spaces that feel private but not isolated, included small touches that will make guests feel genuinely welcomed. Watching her direct workers and make decisions and solve problems, I'm struck by how competent she is, how natural this is for her. She was always going to succeed with or without my help. I just had the privilege of making it happen sooner. On my good days, we work side by side painting walls or arranging furniture or planning the garden. On my bad days, she brings me a chair and a cold drink and includes me in conversations with contractors so I can feel useful even when I can't be physically helpful. She never makes me feel like a burden or an obstacle, never suggests that the project would be easier without me. Instead, she treats me like a partner whose contributions matter, whose opinions are valued, whose presence makes the work more enjoyable. It's the kindness of someone who has chosen to love deliberately, with full knowledge of what it costs. The restaurant space is taking shape too, exactly as she envisioned it. She's found a chef who specializes in both Thai and Western dishes, someone who understands that guests need familiar comfort sometimes, but also want to experience authentic local flavors. They spend hours together planning menus, testing recipes, discussing presentation. Watching them work together, I can see the future of this place, the kind of establishment that becomes a destination rather than just accommodation, where people come back year after year because the food is exceptional and the atmosphere is genuinely warm. I want our guests to feel like they're visiting friends. Kanya explains to the chef, not just staying at a business. Our guests. She still says it that way, still includes me in the vision, even though we both know I won't be here to meet them. It's one of the many small kindnesses she offers without calling attention to it, ways of honoring our partnership even as it's ending. Some evenings, we sit in what will become the restaurant dining area and share takeout while discussing the day's progress. She tells me about decisions she made, problems she solved, ideas she had for improvements. I tell her about phone calls I made, research I did, small tasks I completed from my increasingly limited capacity. It feels like what marriage should be: two people building something together, sharing both the work and the satisfaction of seeing it succeed. The fact that it's temporary doesn't make it less real. If anything, it makes it more precious. We're not taking this for granted the way couples do when they assume they have decades to work through problems and pursue dreams. We know this is it. This is our chance. This is all the time we get. So we pay attention to each moment, appreciate each small victory, and don't waste energy on arguments that won't matter in the long run. My condition is deteriorating steadily but not dramatically. The doctors were right about the timeline, weeks rather than months, but wrong about the trajectory. Instead of a sharp decline, it's been a gradual reduction in good days and increase in difficult ones. I'm sleeping more, eating less, requiring stronger pain medication more frequently. But I'm still me, still capable of conversation and affection and contributing to our shared project. Still able to love her and feel loved in return. The hardest part isn't the physical symptoms, it's watching her learn to be a caregiver when she signed up to be a partner. She does it with grace and humor, never making me feel ashamed of needing help or guilty about the ways my illness affects our daily routine. When I can't stand long enough to shower, she helps me bathe without embarrassment. When pain makes me irritable, she gives me space without taking it personally. When medication makes me confused or drowsy, she's patient and gentle and doesn't treat me like I'm disappearing, even when I feel like I am. "You're still you," she says one afternoon when I apologize for being poor company. "Sick you is still you. I didn't fall in love with your health, I fell in love with your heart. It's exactly what I need to hear, exactly when I need to hear it." She has a gift for knowing what I need, sometimes before I know it myself. One morning, I wake up and realize I can't remember what day it is or how long I've been sick. The confusion is terrifying, the first real sign that the cancer is affecting my brain as well as my body. But Kanya is there, calm and reassuring, helping me piece together the timeline without making me feel stupid or broken. "It's okay," she says. "Your body is tired. Your mind is tired. But I'm here, and I remember everything. I'll remember for both of us when you can't." The promise is both comforting and heartbreaking. She's volunteering to carry my memories forward, to be the keeper of our story when I can no longer tell it myself. The guest house opens on a Wednesday in what I calculate must be my final week. Though the days are blending together now and I'm not entirely sure of anything except that Kanya is happy and the place is beautiful. Our first guests are a young couple from Germany who found us through a travel blog that recommended authentic experiences away from tourist crowds. They're delighted with everything: the peaceful setting, the thoughtful room design, the exceptional food, the genuine warmth of their host. I watch from a chair in the garden as Kanya shows them around, explains local attractions, ensures they have everything they need. She's a natural at this. Warm but not intrusive. Helpful but not hovering. She makes hospitality look effortless, though I know how much thought and care goes into every detail. That evening, after our guests have gone to bed, we sit in the restaurant area sharing a beer and listening to the sounds of night birds and distant waves. "We did it," she says quietly. "It's really happening. People are here. They're happy. They're going to leave good reviews." The pride in her voice is earned and beautiful. She built something amazing, and now she gets to see it working exactly as she dreamed. "You did it," I correct her. "This was your vision, your work, your dream. I just had the privilege of helping." "We did it together," she insists. "Everything good about this place came from both of us. The money was yours, but the heart was ours." She's right, I suppose. Whatever happens after I'm gone, this place will always represent the best of what we created together. It will be her livelihood and her legacy, but it will also be proof that we loved each other well, even briefly. That night, I sleep more peacefully than I have in weeks, surrounded by the sounds of a successful business and the presence of a woman who chose to love me despite everything I couldn't offer her. I wake up on Friday morning, or maybe Saturday. I'm losing track of time and immediately know that this is different. Not just another bad day that might improve with medication and rest, but the beginning of the ending I've been postponing. The pain is beyond what pills can manage, and there's a heaviness in my chest that makes breathing difficult. More concerning is the way my thoughts feel disconnected from each other, like I'm observing my own mind from a distance. When I try to call for Kanya, my voice comes out weaker than expected, but she appears quickly as if she's been waiting nearby. One look at my face tells her everything she needs to know. "Should I call the doctor?" she asks. But we both know there's nothing more they can do except make me comfortable. Instead of answering, I ask her to help me get dressed and move to the restaurant area where I can see the garden and the guest bungalows and everything we built together. She helps me to a chair with cushions and blankets, brings me water I can't drink and food I can't eat, and settles into the chair next to me. Our German guests check out that morning, thanking Kanya profusely and promising to recommend the place to friends. After they leave, we're alone with the sounds of construction from neighboring properties and the ever-present background noise of life continuing around us. Tell me about the next guests, I say, wanting to focus on her future rather than my ending. She tells me about bookings through the end of the month, about a food blogger who wants to feature the restaurant, about her plans to add 2 more bungalows next year. Her voice is steady and enthusiastic, but I can see her watching me carefully, calibrating her energy to match my diminishing capacity. I'm proud of you, I tell her when she finishes describing her expansion plans. Not just proud of what you've accomplished, but proud of who you are. You're going to help so many people feel welcomed and happy here. She reaches over and takes my hand. I'm proud of us, she says. I'm proud of what we did together, how we loved each other, how we faced this impossible situation. I'm proud that we chose honesty over comfort, that we chose love over self-protection. She's right to be proud. What we've done hasn't been perfect or easy, but it's been real and brave and generous. We've loved each other with full knowledge of the cost, and that's no small thing. The afternoon passes in a haze of medication and quiet conversation. Kanya sits with me, sometimes talking about plans and memories, sometimes just holding my hand in comfortable silence. As the sun starts to set, she brings out photo albums from our months together, pictures I didn't even know she'd been taking. Me reading on the beach, laughing at something she said, looking at the property with genuine excitement, helping paint walls, meeting her family, sitting in this very chair looking happy despite everything. You were happy, she observes, echoing what she said that day we met her parents. Even knowing what you knew, even carrying what you carried, you were genuinely happy. She's right. For these few months, I forgot I was dying and remembered how to live. I forgot to count days and started making plans. I forgot to prepare for endings and started believing in beginnings. Maybe that was the real gift she gave me, not the love itself, though that was precious, but the permission to be fully present in my own life again. I was happy because of you, I tell her. Not just because you distracted me from being sick, but because you reminded me who I was underneath the diagnosis. Because you saw me as more than my circumstances. The morphine is making everything soft and distant, but my feelings for her remain sharp and clear. Whatever happens to my body, whatever happens to my consciousness, this love is the most real thing I've experienced in years. As darkness settles around us, she helps me inside and into bed. I'm too weak to do much besides lie still and focus on breathing, but she curls up next to me and keeps talking softly about the guests coming next week, about her mother's plans to visit, about small improvements she wants to make to the property. Her voice becomes a kind of lullaby, grounding me to this moment, this place, this life I'm leaving behind. Thank you, I whisper when she pauses. For staying, for forgiving me, for loving me anyway. Thank you for finding me, she whispers back. Thank you for helping my dreams come true. Thank you for loving me the best way you knew how. As sleep or something deeper pulls me away, the last thing I'm aware of is her hand in mine and her voice promising that she'll take care of everything, that she'll remember everything, that love doesn't end just because life does. I came to Thailand to die in peace, and I'm leaving it having learned that peace isn't about being alone, it's about being loved, fully and honestly, for exactly as long as you have. When I slip away sometime before dawn, I'm not the same person who arrived at that immigration counter with careful plans for a solitary ending. I'm someone who was loved, someone who loved in return, someone who helped build something beautiful that will outlast his own brief presence in the world. Kanya will grieve and heal and continue creating the life she always deserved. The guest house will thrive under her care, welcoming travelers who need the kind of authentic warmth she provides so naturally. And somewhere in the garden we planted together, in the rooms we designed together, in the dreams we shared together, a piece of our love story will continue not as tragedy, but as testament to what's possible when people choose to love fully despite impossible odds. The cruelest thing about dying isn't leaving the world behind. It's realizing, too late, how much life there was to be lived. But I got to love her, and she got to love me, and for a few months we built something beautiful together. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's everything.